Welcome back, viewers. It turns out Insidia himself is having an issue with the latest video, something about the software being a bell end. So whilst Insidia argues with AI and figures it out, here are 10 mildly interesting facts about the Tudor period. 1. Fireworks. You'd think fireworks were a Chinese invention, and you'd be right. But the first documented use of them in England, that was at the royal wedding of King Henry VII and Elizabeth of York in 1486, because nothing says eternal union like gunpowder explosions near flammable Tudor buildings. By 1572, Queen Elizabeth I had taken a shining to them so much that she had Warwick Castle set aside a special island just for pyrotechnic parties. Because, obviously, if you're going to blow things up for fun, an isolated island is the only sensible choice. 2. Beds. Now let's talk about sleeping arrangements. If you were rich, you'd snuggle into a four-poster fortress with curtains to trap in your body heat, your secrets, and probably the smell of roasted swan. Poor? Well, lucky you. Your mattress was a generous pile of straw. Congratulations. You're basically sleeping in future livestock bedding. 3. Invited to dinner with the Lord. Dinner with the local lord sounds glamorous until you realise it's just a masterclass in medieval humiliation. You'd sit at a table below him so he could quite literally look down on you like the human ceiling leak you are. He ate first, of course, and you'd only be allowed food after the servants taste tested it. Because if Geoffrey the butler spoon didn't keel over frothing at the mouth, well, bon appétit. And just for the cherry on top, you might even have to share your slab of cold meat with another hungry serf. Charming. 4. Idiot. Here's a fun linguistic landmine. The word idiot originally meant commoner. It wasn't even an insult. So if you call your boss an idiot and he asks why, just tell him, oh no, it's Tudor slang for relatable peasant. Just remember to have enough savings to last until you find a new job. 5. Guns. Now, contrary to popular belief, the Tudors weren't just running around with swords and javelins like budget extras from Braveheart. They had guns. Lots of them. And in true Tudor style, they named them after birds of prey, because nothing screams murderous aristocracy like loading your falconet before blowing a hole in someone over a land dispute. 6. Eating habits. You'd eat with your hands, of course, because cutlery was for foreigners and sorcerers. Everyone carried a knife, not for crime, mind you, but for carving up roast meat or, say, dealing with a tavern brawl. Forks existed in Italy, but in England? Unnecessary witchcraft. 7. Medicine. Feeling unwell? Don't worry. Tudor doctors followed ancient Greek ideas from 400 BC. You were more likely to survive licking a damp leaf than visiting one of these leech enthusiasts. If you couldn't afford a doctor, and most couldn't, you'd consult a wise woman who'd tell you to boil moss, say a prayer, and avoid Tuesdays. Frankly, she was probably the better option. 8. Alcohol and punishment. Alcohol was cheaper than clean water and considerably more fun. The poor drank it in heroic quantities, not to party, but to forget how awful everything else was. But beware. If you got caught staggering around like a drunken donkey, you'd be sentenced to wear the drunkard's cloak. That's right. Shoved into a wooden barrel with holes for your arms and legs and sent stumbling through the streets as everyone pointed, laughed and pelted you with yesterday's turnips. Delightful. 9. Fashionable children. Wealthy children didn't get to be children. They were simply miniature adults. The moment you escaped your nappies, you were trussed up in corsets, gowns, ruffs and shoes so pointy they could signal ships. You were 8 years old and looked like a middle-aged diplomat with trust issues. 10. Carpets. You know the thing you walk on? Well, in Tudor England, carpets from the East were so absurdly expensive that nobody dared step on them. They were hung on walls or draped over tables like sacred relics. Basically, the Tudors turned their homes into a showroom for a very nervous IKEA. So, viewer, what did we learn today? If you were rich, you had fireworks, wall carpets, and the luxury of not dying immediately when sick. If you were poor, you had straw, communal meat, and the ever-looming threat of being barrel-shamed for public intoxication. And if you ever feel like life today is a mess, just remember, at least no one's tasting your food to check if it's been poisoned. Probably. And we also learned that no matter how much Insidious spends on his computer, software errors are inevitable. Like and follow for more history with sarcasm and dread that makes the present either seem slightly less awful or eerily similar.